Welcome back to the Avenue. It is April 1st. Can you believe that, you guys? We made it through the month of March, and the month of March was my birthday. March 1st was my birthday, but I celebrated the whole month. And wow, what a great month March was. And hopefully you got a chance to look at the March 1st video with the gifts that I gave you back to just as my audience for coming in, watching me being faithful. Some of you looked at it and took to heart some of the things we talked about. But today is April 1st, end of first quarter. It's over with March 31st. Yesterday was the end of first quarter. We're into second quarter of the year. But before I let you go, I want to just briefly go back over some of the things we talked about for March and your marching orders. So stay tuned. We are marching right through this year. And one of the things we talked about last year on March 1st was your faith. I told you that I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I believe in him. And so basically I ask you to shore up your faith, whatever it is that you believe in, to grasp hold of that, because we knew that the waters were going to get a little rough, and they have been a little rough and probably going to get even rougher as the year goes on. So you need something to hold on to that's bigger than yourself. I got a few comments in the comment area, and some of you really took to heart what we were talking about when we said about the faith. Another thing I asked you to do was your relationships, to make sure you had people around you that supported you. And if it was some relationships that you really didn't need to hang on to, that you should have probably cut loose a long time ago, now was the time to do it. We don't throw people away, but sometimes you just have to back away if it's not going in the right direction. It'll be better for you as well as that person, but sometimes you need to do things for yourself. Another thing I ask you to think about is your health. Make sure you are taking care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else is. Make sure you meet your doctor's visits, make sure you look at your blood work, all of that, and do things, eat right, exercise, do things that you can do on a daily basis to help you take care of yourself. I had to adjust some of my eating habits, and I got down to it. It's like, wow, am I gonna have to eat this way the rest of my life? Probably so, to a certain extent. Everything in moderation, but sometimes you have to clamp down on some things and just say, no, I'm not going to do that. I want to live a more quality life and a longer life if possible. So those were some of the things we talked about. And finances, of course, couldn't leave you out of the month of March without talking about finances. And, do what you need to do. What your finances, where you stand in your finances. So I'm asking you to do what you need to do. So that's what we did for March. Hopefully you got something out of that, and hopefully you acted on some, if not all of these. Next, we have up April. And I know April 1st is April Fool's Day, but I'm not asking you to fool yourself when it comes to making decisions. We're going to talk about making great decisions. It's probably easier than you think. Now, you know me, I'm the proponent for better decisions for a better life. I say that all the time, and I truly believe that, because the decision is made in a moment of time. However, that decision that you make in that moment of time only takes a second to decide, can affect minutes, can affect hours, can affect days, can affect years, can affect lifetimes. Sometimes you make a decision, you guys, and it'll affect the next 18 years of your life. Sometimes it'll affect longer than that on a single decision. So decisions have consequences. But so often, we get into making the wrong decision. And there are some reasons why we make the wrong decision. Making the wrong decision once may be okay, especially when you're a little younger. But consistently making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, your life is not going in the right direction when you make these kind of decisions. When you start making better decisions, you start having a better life. And we're going to talk about some things, why people make such bad decisions. And you may see yourself in some of these, but this is only to help you to make better decisions. Let's get started. Now, these are some of the common reasons people make bad decisions. First up is lack of information or the wrong information. We know sometimes we act on just brief information on something, but not a whole lot. And if it's something that you really need to know to the end about that, we go on and make a decision based on just a little bit of information and not the whole gamut of information we might need to know. Sometimes it's the wrong information. You got something from someone that may not know what they were talking about, or just honestly just gave you bad information. And you go ahead and make a decision on that, and the decision turns out to be wrong, may hurt you in some form or shape, but it is, it's not working in your favor. So you make a bad decision based on either the lack of information or wrong information. Next up, emotional decisions. If we're affected emotionally, whether it's happy or sad, it can lead you into making a bad decision, or a decision that's really not right for you. And so we have to make sure we keep our emotions in check. Emotions are there for various reasons. They're good. We're supposed to have emotions, unless God would not have given us emotions. But making a decision when you're emotional normally doesn't turn out good for you. So it's best to wait till things calm down, take a breath, wait a few days, wait a few hours, come back to your normal self before you just settle down a bit. Sometimes people make decisions in the heat of the moment. Sometimes people make decisions when they're just upset about something or very happy and excited about something. A decision is made. I know a lot of people, when they're going out to buy a house, hopefully they figured out the finances to purchase the house. But most purchases are made on emotional feelings. How do you feel when you get in that house? If they come happy, especially if the wife comes happy, she comes in, she sees the kitchen she loves, she sees a bedroom she loves, she sees a master bathroom that she loves, pretty much they're going to buy that house based on how she feels. And so these decisions are made, and you make decisions based on sometimes emotions. But what I'm saying is settle down with the emotions and make sure it makes sense to make that decision. So don't let your emotions 100% drive your decisions. Sometimes we make decisions, you guys, based on something that we've already gotten in our mind or decided. So if we already have in our mind a certain thing, such as I want to go buy a certain computer, and you go to the place and you say that you're going to be open-minded about some other computers that they may have there, maybe lower cost computers, but you know that this is the one you want. Probably they're not going to be able to change your mind, or you're not going to change your mind on that. So sometimes once we already have our mind made up about, okay, this is what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to go there and let them talk to me, or, this is what I'm going to do, but my parents are going to instruct me to do something else. They may not agree with my decision because I want to do this because I think it and feel that this is what's best for me. I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And it could be a wrong decision. It could be a bad decision, especially if the people that you're talking to have already experienced what it is that you're going through. Sometimes people come to me and they want to do certain things. They want to become landlords. They want to buy rental property. However, they're not at the point where they could really be a landlord. And when I point out a few things to them, sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't, because they may have their mind already made up. But coming from experience is more than a notion just to say, I want to be a landlord. I want to buy, various properties. Even if you want to buy various properties, maybe a property management company would be best for you if you're not in a position to be a landlord and do the things that a landlord has to do. So sometimes we already have our minds made up and we make these bad decisions based on what we think is best for us. You guessed it. Next up, peer pressure and social media. If something is out there and we see it, we may just grasp onto that. And this is the way that I want to go. You make decisions based on commercials sometimes. You make decisions based on your favorite actor or actress. Sometimes you make decisions based on these reality shows that are not really reality. They do things to keep you watching. People don't really act like that. They act like that to keep you watching, to keep the shows going, to keep the ratings up, that type of thing. They say it's reality, but it's really not reality. They're doing things and they have to. Because just think, if their life was as boring as your life or my life, you probably wouldn't watch it for too long. So let's keep that in mind. But social media, we'll see things on social media. We'll see some shoes that some people may have or something like that. And we want to go in and purchase some shoes or purchase some clothes, purchase a bag, something that you see on Facebook, something that you see on TikTok, something that you see that's right for you, or you think it's right for you, and you make a decision based on something like that when it may not be the right decision. So what I'm saying is, it's okay to look at social media, but if it doesn't make sense, I don't care how much it costs. If you cannot afford it, don't buy it. Don't do it based on social media. You don't know what else those people have going on in their lives. You don't know how much debt they're in. You don't know what it took to get them to that point. So don't base your decisions. Plus, on social media, you guys, truth be known, you're going to see only the best of the best. They're not going to show you the bad decisions that they made. In some of these home shows, they're showing you the successes that they've had. Very few home shows will show you the properties that they bought, went in, tried to make updates, and they lost money on it, like big time money. Or they had to just back out and sell the property because they couldn't do it like they felt that they could at the very beginning. You don't see a lot of that. You see from the beginning, the stuff that they had to put in, and oh, by the way, they got even a better price when they put so much into that house. It's not really reality. I wish they would show everything, but don't let this peer pressure and social media get you down a road that you don't need to be down. So let's temper our decisions based on what really makes sense and not necessarily what society is telling us to do. Another reason that people make bad decisions is based on their thinking. They think in short term instead of long term. What do I mean by this? They would rather spend $100, $200 on a pair of shoes than to invest $100 or $200 for retirement and have it become $10,000, $20,000 in the end. So they think of short-term gratification. And sometimes we have an issue with this, you guys, all of us. I mean, from the young to the old, we have an issue. We want it now and we pay for it now. But instead of making a good decision, now if you've gotten everything in order and you have extra money to spend on the things for instant gratification, it's all good. You can do that. But don't sacrifice your future just for a few short minutes of gratification. And some of these things we buy, once you get the shoes, you wear them once. They're worn shoes. They're not new shoes. You know, they may feel the same, but they're not new shoes anymore. And so it starts to diminish. Your gratification with that particular thing starts to diminish. So let's not make every decision based on instant gratification or the here and there now and not worry about the future. It's very easy to make a bad decision or a wrong choice when you have too much to choose from. It's called decision fatigue. It's so much to choose from. It's like, just pick something. I don't care, just pick something so we can move on. But when you have too many choices out there, you can, or if you're making decisions for a long time, a period of time, it's like when you get toward the end, it's like, okay, whatever you think feels good. I can see this in clients when they go in to pick out selections for their house. They'll start out all gung-ho and very particular about this needs to go with this and this needs to go with this. And then after they're there for 2 or 3 hours and they get down to some other things, it's like, you know what, whatever you think goes well. And there will be someone there to guide them, but they just start giving up their decisions. And sometimes you make bad decisions when you do that. So that's just another one to be cautious of when you have decision fatigue. Sometimes you just need to take a break, take a breath, come back and start all over. And the last one I will bring up for making bad decisions is when you get decisions from an expert advice, and you decide not to take it. You decide to go another way. Now, this is someone has experience in the area or either has been taught in the area. They've done this before. They kind of see down the line. They kind of see the future before we're getting to that. And they're letting you know that if you do this, this is going to be how it turns out. However, you think you know better and you don't want to trust that expert that's done it before, seen it many, many times happen like that, and can almost guarantee you if you make this decision like this, this is the way it's going to go. You just ignore all of that, become headstrong, and make your decision the way that you want to make it. And sometimes it turns out, most of the times it turns out to be a bad decision. So that's just one more thing just to be aware of. If you decide to ask a professional, ask an expert about something, and they tell you, and then you decide to go another way, that's on you. I know it's April 1st, but don't play a joke on me. Hit that like button and that subscribe button so that you can stay informed of the information as it becomes available to you, and make a comment. Tell me about the last decision that you've made. Was it good? Was it bad? Did it really not affect you? I'd like to know, because better decisions gives you a better life. Of course, I'm not going to let you go without giving you a plan to make a better decision. We just discussed all the wrong decisions that we make, the bad decisions we make, and some of the reasons why. So we want to get into, and this will be your challenge, your charge for the month of April, is to make better decisions. So if we slow it down, we have a few simple steps to help you make better decisions. First of all, you need to know exactly what the decision is. Is it black and white? Is it maybe? How many choices do you have? When there are choices, there are many. Once you make a decision, you cut off all but one of the choices. That's your decision. Everything else goes away. This is what I'm deciding to do. This is the way I'm going. So make sure you understand what decision that you're actually making. That's step number one. Next, you want to gather up as much information about that decision as possible. The pros and the cons of it. Sometimes when I need to make a decision, I'll draw a line down the paper. What are the pros? What are the cons? If I do this, what am I going to be doing that's going to affect me in a good way? What's going to affect me in a bad way? Is it something that a con is like something that I cannot do? It's non-negotiable. If that's a con, that decision, I can't make it in favor of that. So this is a good way of kind of eliminating your choices down to what are the critical things you really need to have in this decision. There are some must-have sometimes, and there are some deal breakers sometimes. So you want to narrow down those things and then go with the things that you have to have in making your decision. One step that I think is extremely important, we cannot skip over, is what is your gut telling you? Sometimes we have decisions that we can make and we have this feeling within our stomach that's saying, this is the right way, that's the wrong way to go. I know I have it all the time, and it's intuition. Sometimes I just need to sit back and really determine, okay, I'm not really feeling this. I'm not feeling good about this. I don't think it's going to be good for me, because most of the times your intuition is telling you something that you cannot put your finger on, but it's something that you definitely need to consider. And when you ignore your intuition, sometimes you go and make a bad decision. So let's not leave this step out of the decision-making process. Once we've kind of done all of this, gathered the information, weighed out our options, did the pros and cons, considered our gut feelings, we make the decision. At some point, you all, we cannot get paralyzed in making the decision. You have to make that decision. Once you make the decision, you move forward with it, as well as the consequences, the responsibilities that come with that decision. You're accountable for that decision that you made. And sometimes we don't make decisions because we don't want to be accountable for the outcome. But when it's necessary, we have to make decisions. And decisions will put, the more you make them, the easier they actually get, because once you go through these steps, you'll be logically putting things together to help you make those decisions and make better decisions. So once we put it all together, we make a decision. And like I said, once you decide, you cut off everything else that you said no to, and you go in that direction and you commit to that decision that you've just made. There are decisions that we can actually make and then adjust on as needed. Let me give you an example so you fully understand this one. Let's say that you have decided that you're going to buy a home, and instead of waiting 6 months, your choices were to wait 6 months, buy it now. You know, you assess the interest rates, you assess the market, you assess what's out there. You got a realtor working for you and all of that. So everything is going. However, you get wind that the overtime may be cut. You get wind that some of the jobs may be cut on your job. At that point in time, even though you've decided I'm moving forward right now, you may want to hold back on that decision because you've gotten some additional information. So as you get additional information, you can adjust some of these decisions. You committed to going forward and everything was going well. However, you got some additional information, or you may have even lost your job. That's something that you just don't go out and buy a house once you lose your job, right? So these are some things that we need to consider on some of the decisions, that if we get into it and do have some time, that we can hold off. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's see if I can get another job in the same field that I'm in, and just see what's going to happen. It's not a life and death situation. So let's just wait a while because we've gotten additional information. You always have the freedom to do that. Now, for all the believers out there, such as myself, when do you involve God in your decisions? And I would say if it's a big decision, if it's an important decision, or if you feel the need to involve Him in your decision-making process, it's very simple. You can study, prayer, you can pray, you can read scripture. And if you're feeling a little uneasy about the situation, you probably want to hold up and get some direction from God. Now, once God gives you the direction and the freedom to go ahead and make that decision, you can make that decision. But if you're feeling uneasy, or if you're just not sure, if you're just uncertain and you just need, other than the people around you, you just need something else to push you in the right direction. Sometimes you'll get a sign from someone. Sometimes various things will happen. Sometimes some people will walk up to you and tell you, you know what, I see you doing this, or I see you doing that. Or there could be a still small voice that's telling you this is the way that you should go with that decision. But if you're feeling uneasy about it, sometimes when it came time for me to retire, I needed to hear from God on that. It was something that I wanted to do, something that I felt like I needed to do, but it was something that I needed to hear from Him before I took that step. Because once I heard that, yes, you're released, you can go, your assignment here is done, I could take that step because I know He had me, after I retired. So let's not forget, for the believers, like I said, if you're not a believer, you probably don't even understand what I'm talking about. But for the believers out there, sometimes we need to involve God in the big decisions, the important decisions, and those decisions that we just think we need guidance in. We don't feel good about it, a little uncertain about it, and we need the guidance. And so we turn to Him to help us with these decisions that we need to make. So for the month of April, we are starting second quarter strong because we know now how to make better decisions. And I'm going to hold you to it. I want you making better decisions from this point on out. I always say better decisions gives you a better life. And so now you know why I say that. And I've given you some tips for making better decisions. All right. And with that, I will see you in the next video.